Alright everyone, sometimes when we criticize things we're being a jerk off. Other times when we criticize something we're actually trying to be helpful, and the latter is the case with this video and other videos where I'm talking about YouTube censorship. I am a YouTube addict, really like the service, otherwise I wouldn't have made over 2,000 videos here. So when I reproach YouTube for something that it's claiming it wants to put into place, I'm not doing it because, oh, screw this site, oh, it's so evil, hate these Google people. It's because I want to see the service continue to be stable and workable and something that can be used by as many people as possible because it's interesting. It's fun. That's what YouTube is to me. It's a good place to spread your ideas, to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Do some gaming, do some makeup tips, whatever it happens to be. Part of the draw of YouTube, though, and these other sites as well, and I'll speak to VidMe here, one of the draws of VidMe is the fact that people are getting nervous about putting any edgy content on YouTube. And so far, I don't believe the politics category has been unfrozen. Still think that's a problem. I think it should be taken care of. To YouTube, I would say this. You do realize that there's such a thing as the Streisand effect. Now, on further consideration, when I thought about the idea of using a limited state to try to suppress content on YouTube that didn't actually break any rules, isn't bannable, but you find objectionable for some odd reason. On further review, I almost think to myself, maybe a bunch of people who want that material to spread further were the ones that developed such an idea, and here's why. Any sane person working in the online world has to know that whatever you're attempting to suppress typically goes viral in an underground sense and becomes more potent over time. People who categorize themselves with whoever's being suppressed, I envision it'll probably be fringe political and religious ideologies in this sense. People who are anti-religious, belong to some sect that has, maybe out there views. People who do the conspiracy theory, New World Order sort of stuff. Almost certainly people who provide political commentary or current events analysis that runs outside of the sort of neocon, neoliberal fixtures of life, maybe parts of what you call progressivism, although it has nothing to do with progress. It's just another variant of totalitarianism. I'm assuming that the tent is pretty wide as far as people who will see some content at least put in this limited state. I also think it's entirely possible. This is something I'm sure a lot of you won't want to hear. I have a feeling YouTube is going to aim this at small users a lot more than major users. That is, if you get 100,000 subscribers, YouTube probably cares a little bit more about pissing off your fan base than if you have 10 subscribers. It's not fair, although it is, I suppose, in a way beneficial to larger creators who have already made it, but it will suppress newer creators from getting to that point, which, should piss off 99% of the user base because you're not at that level yet, so I'm not sure that's a great idea. But here's what will probably end up happening. Material that is put in a limited state will go viral because once people realize it's in a limited state, it gives them all that much more reason to spread it. If somebody is subscribed to a channel, and thus they're not getting it from the recommended videos list, they're getting it because they're subscribed to the channel. All those people say, hey, it's in a limited state. That means YouTube is trying to censor this person that I support. I'm going to do them a solid and spread it around even more. Instead of just, maybe they share one of the videos out to Twitter every week, all of a sudden they start tweeting everything out. They start putting it all on Facebook. They start collating it on forums. They start putting it everywhere. And you get to see who's really edgy, essentially. I would not be surprised. I suggested this myself. One possible response to this, a workaround to prevent the censorship of content that's not actually breaching any reasonable, valid terms of service, would be to build an off-site sort of system for the larger content creators and simply crawl their material, have this program that you're implementing determine what has been put in a limited state based on the source code or however you do it. I don't even know because I'm not like tech literate in that sense. And simply embeds it elsewhere. Now, if embedding is removed, you'd probably have to take the video and it would have to be automatically downloaded. You grab the tags, you grab the description, everything else, and then you simply provide a link to the actual video so it can be spread. And what you would do is provide an off-site sharing function for Twitter, Facebook, and all this stuff And what you would have is a searchable, embedded, or downloaded database of stuff that's being suppressed. It would also give you a pretty good indicator after some time of what kinds of content were being suppressed. You could then conduct research into specifically what these videos have in common. What tags, what descriptions will get you marked by Google's AI, so that the other people, the actual moderators, they're the ones going through that content that's been marked, as far as I understand it, and then they make the determination of whether to put it in the limited state, or whether to ban the material altogether, or whether to leave it alone. I'm assuming it's based largely on tags, descriptions, and titles. I can't imagine that the AI system is sophisticated enough yet to look through and listen to the actual video, which means that the other data provided is probably the first to be targeted. Thus, you could provide a counter strategy of how to avoid being put in a limited state. You could work around it. Find out what tags you shouldn't use, what things you shouldn't put in your description, and so forth. It's as simple as that. After implementation, it could take as little as a month to provide effective counter strategies. And thus YouTube's entire program falls apart. There's no more purpose to it. You're going to end up making the material go more viral. Material that would have been, maybe some people would have watched it. Some of the person's fans, people with certain ideologies that might be associated with such content to be put in the limited state. Stuff that would have gotten, maybe it got 5,000 views before, now it's 500,000. Because it's being slapped all over the internet, specifically because it's taboo. It's been forbidden. It's something Google doesn't want people to see, therefore people want to see it more. It's the way things work. It's a fool's errand in trying to suppress material online to actually enact such a program. Has Google thought of this fact? I have to assume somebody at the boardroom meeting when they were talking about this had to bring up the Streisand effect. Somebody else said it doesn't matter. Oh, don't worry, it'll work because it's YouTube. I don't think so. I think it'll backfire. I think you'll find that material you don't want spread around ends up getting spread around more. The fact that it's not being commented on or liked directly on YouTube is not going to affect anything. Also, if this is AI driven but still has to be reviewed, what happens to comments and ratings and stuff that happen before it gets put in that state? Do they simply get disappeared, USSR style or something, I guess would be the question we have to ask. Will the limited state be evident to the uploader themselves or just to anyone else watching it? Will it not affect people who are using registered accounts, and the limited state applies to people who are not logged in? If that's the case, then yeah, it wouldn't even necessarily really affect business for most larger uploaders. A plurality of their views come from people who see their videos spit out to them on some platform or another. That's why I use Twitter, by the way. I wouldn't even have a Twitter account if I didn't think YouTube's notification system was now too spotty to rely upon. There wouldn't be a need for it otherwise. I'd shitpost and put other things on Twitter, yeah, but I mean the main purpose, the only reason I started an account in the first place was to spit out my videos. I had it set to automatic before, but I noticed sometimes that didn't work either, so I just do it manually now. I know you can do it automatically, but why bother? Use Gab. Gab doesn't care what the video is, by the way. VidMe for double uploads. I've got a WordPress that's a copy of my Blogger account that I've used over time for my books. So, yeah, I don't think Google has 100% thought this out. I think that unfortunately for them it might backfire. And I say this not to say, well, Google sucks, haha, I take joy in your misery. No, I wish you wouldn't try to implement a program that might fall flat. How much money is being spent even creating such a program? Must be many millions of dollars. It's money that could have been invested in something else YouTube related, in all honesty. I think YouTube is a wonderful site, but if people don't speak out against such things, it will stop being a wonderful site, at least temporarily. People have a tendency to only speak out when things get really bad. It's like when something is suggested that clearly is going to be problematic, all these people don't want to talk about it until it directly affects them. But if the net is cast really wide, as I think might be the case, we have to wait and see. It might be a very limited use of this program, in which case probably nobody will end up caring. But if it's applied too liberally to too many people, to too many types of videos, there is going to be mass outcry. It's going to come somewhat from the left too. When the socialist news page is condemning the very idea of it, because they think that it's going to favor neoliberalism over socialists, they're probably right. They're probably right. This is going to affect people on the left. It's not just going to affect the right. People want to assume that it's only going to affect whatever small group they happen to be a member of, like specifically the alt-right, specifically the alt-right, specifically pro-liberty commentators, specifically socialists or something. That's going to affect all the above, probably. And if it does, it's a rather large number of people who get disenfranchised. All the much more reason to build an off-site presence in various forms, especially a site that can collate those banned videos and allow an easier sharing functionality and comments as well, because then it'll get spread around everywhere. You'd think of something that looks kind of like YouTube, but it's like YouTube 2.0 in that it's just taking that content and continuing to keep it functional, to keep it available for people to watch and spread around along with the link. That's basically what could be done. Somebody with more tech literacy could easily develop something like that, I'm assuming. You just go into the source code and figure out what you're doing. You do that, though. I can't. All I can do is suggest that the idea be done. I'll do the thinking on that end, but the actual doing, it would be impossible. Like, I think I could make like a blank web page and put some plain text on it and a couple of links. That's basically all I can do in that sense. Yeah, there's a reason that I don't have my own website yet. Still got to make that build. Although then Google might just demote it in the search rankings, so what's the point? WordPress seems to do pretty well, though. That's about all. Peace out.